we'll just wait for Sec Gary to come in. He's gonna come in at around 9:30 yata. Oh boy. So work, how's everything? Do you have are you busier? Or, early in the year?
Oh yeah, super. Super.
Grabe ba? Daming trabaho.
And then I have a new client. So
you have a new client.
Yeah.
Cool. That's cool. The exciting times. More, if you have more clients, then that means a good way to start the year, diba?
Yeah. It just means less time for rest.
Okay. Okay. Ayun. So looks like we have our first ever message on our board, si Miko Del Mindo. After kay Orion, dito naman. Yon. Thanks, Miko, for joining. We're going to start in a bit. We're going to have former Secretary of GMA, Gloria Macapagal Arroyo, as our guest tonight. Si Secretary Gary Olivar, who was recently at the Chacha. I hate it when they call it Chacha because it's such a parang masyado, alam mo yun, yung they've used that term, abused that term to mean something negative na nakakasawa pakinggan na parating Chacha. Yung negative connotation niya hindi na talaga maganda. So we're gonna have Secretary Gary Olivar as our guest. So standby po kayo dyan sa mga nakikinig ngayon sa Istoryang futBOLERO. Si Celine Veloso, by the way, is with us. But before we do that, before we formally introduce our guest, it's time for us to do this and do it properly. Hey guys, welcome to Istoryang futBOLERO. My name's Ron Poblete. With me tonight is Miss Celine Veloso, Erica Madraso. Unfortunately, didn't respond to my message. We were supposed to do the blog last night. It's MWF for Istoryang futBOLERO. And I just had to beg off because nagkaroon ng last minute thing. And it's rescheduled tonight at 9 o'clock. Si Eric hindi sumagot, siguro busy. But Celine made it. Celine, been a long time. Salamat sa pagdalo sa ating programang Istoryang futBOLERO.
Yes, good evening po sa inyong lahat. Hello to everyone watching. Miko, Van, Marisol, Cyborg, Perez, Fury. Hello po sa inyo.
And si Rockford Mones, Jovan Parimaliv.
Sabi po, Rockford and Jovan.
Live rin tayo sa YouTube. So thank you guys for following our YouTube channel. That means we're one step away from becoming a serious blogger. Maraming salamat po. Ngayon, Celine, I know medyo out of your your comfort zone tong conversation ngayon sa Istoryang futBOLERO kasi papag-usapan natin ngayon ay Chacha. Or nagsasayaw ka ba ng Chacha, Celine? Marunong ka ba mag-Chacha?
Dati? Siguro pag mag-review, kaya? Mas gusto ko pang sumayaw ng Chacha kaysa sa pag-usapan ng Chacha.
Sa pag-usapan ng Chacha, magcha-Chacha ka na lang ngayon live para mas dumami yung viewers natin kaysa pag-usapan yung Chacha. Hindi kasi nakakatawa, may karamihan ng ating mga viewers kasi sa Istoryang futBOLERO are supporters of the president, supporters of this administration. And the last week and a half, medyo yung issues na parating lumalabas sa ating, or mga interviews na lumalabas with our lawmakers, mga senators, congressmen, ang pinapag-usapan ay ang cha-cha. Of course, the way it's being described now by the likes of the DILG, because we have the DILG has an IATF that is focused on constitutional reform. Core ang tawag dyan, Consti Reform. Pero syempre, alam mo naman, yung media, ang alam nila dyan, ang pagkakilala nila dyan sa any efforts to change the 1987 Constitution is cha-cha.
Para na siyang bad word.
Bad word talaga, para ka nag-FU pag sinabi mo cha-cha.
Oo.
Tapos mabigat pakinggan yun, tsaka natatarantay yung mga ibang against it na ating mga mambabatas at even yung mga dating framers of the 1987 Constitution, they usually come out in mass. Nagpapa-interview na hindi daw maganda na baguhin yung Constitution. Bakit ngayon? Hindi naman napapanahon para baguhin. May pandemya, mag-focus na lang daw sa efforts ng pagkuha ng vaccine at pagpigil ng pagkalat ng COVID-19. Wala daw hindi daw panahon para pag-usapan ang cha-cha. At alam mo naman anong Celine, connotation, ikaw you're not very well versed with this topic, but pag ikaw ang tinatanong about cha-cha as a regular gal or regular citizen, now an OFW from Singapore, pag narinig mo ang cha-cha, ano ang impression mo kaagad?
For me, the first thing that comes to mind pag cha-cha is prolonging the presidency. Yun lagi yung parang first thing na that everyone talks about. Parang yun lagi kong naririnig. Yun din yung parang everyone assumes na it's all about that.
Okay. So ano talaga yung it's just a political move. They want to change it because karamihan sa ating mga lawmakers ay gusto nilang magtagal sa kanilang posisyon. And right now kasi sa ating batas, ang ating mga local executives or ang ating mga local politicians like the congressman, your mayor, your governor, 3 taon lang ang binibigay sa kanila ng ating saligang batas. Pero para sa kanila, napakatagal nun. Napaka-ikli nun. Kasi ganito yung conversation niyan, Celine, pag pinapag-usapan ang terms ng ating mga local officials. Sabi nila, ang first year daw ay adjustment period. So, bago ka lang hinalal at nag-a-adjust ka pa, kinikilala mo pa siguro yung mga plantilla, yung mga taong mga career employees na nakatala sa iyong distrito or sa iyong syudad, at nag-a-assign ka pa ng mga panibagong tao to be part of the departments. And so, it's an adjustment period. Second year is where the work happens. So, dyan yung mga proyekto mo, ginagawa mo na yung mga projects. At kung meron ka bang mga plano, ay sinasagad mo, tinatry mo sa second year mo, natapusin lahat. Bakit? By the third year, ang iniisip mo na kaagad ay paano ma-re-elect. Yun. So, ang contention ng mga politician daw, Celine, ay napaka-ikli naman ng 3 taon. Hindi kayang matapos lahat in 3 years. Dapat to extend to 5 years. Yun. Ngayon, kaya ever since, marami ng administrasyong nakaraan, parating pag napapag-usap, kasi alam mo, Celine, hindi ko alam kung natatandaan mo, ever since Ramos time, parating lang napapag-usapan yung cha-cha, yung charter change.
Forever
diba?
Parang every
administration,
president, lahat na lang. Yun lagi.
Pinapag-usapan talaga na baguhin yung constitution. May merits naman yung kung bakit, kasi syempre iba na yung panahon ngayon. I-compare mo yan sa 1987, naku, wala pang Facebook noon, walang Twitter, walang smartphones, di ba? At tsaka hindi talaga siya kumbaga akma na ngayon. Kung pagtitingnan natin yung 1987 Constitution na very limiting, dahil sa sobrang comprehensive yung mga doon, yung mga nilagay sa 1987 Constitution, maraming mga provisions doon na hindi na talaga siyang applicable sa ating panahon. Kaya ngayon, nagkakaroon parati every administration ng pagbabago na attempts to change it. And this term, medyo nagkakaroon tayo ng chance, although medyo late in the administration's it's the last year and a half of President Duterte. So I think some of our congressmen or some of our lawmakers na-realize nila, if we don't do it now, baka hindi na mangyari. So kaya napapag-usapan ngayon kahit na may pandemya. Timely naman dahil may economic problem, merong yung economy natin has faced a downturn because of COVID-19. So part of the way to recover is to actually start from the basic, which is the Constitution. How do you feel about that, Celine? Before we introduce our guest for tonight, what's your input on that? Anong masasabi mo doon sa rationale kung bakit kailangan baguhin ang konstitusyon?
Well, for me, meron talaga mga things in the Constitution na talagang medyo old school na, di ba? So, I think there are some valid reasons for it. You know, why, diba, time and again, lagi na lang siyang binibring up. So, I'm sure there are reasons, diba? And there are legitimate reasons for it to be there. So, hindi naman ako totally opposed, but syempre, caution din, diba? That it may get abused. Because
maganda yung term na yun, abuse, kasi mapapag-usapan natin yung possibility of abusing dahil it's connected with the current revisions that they want to make. It's very minor, it would seem, but there are talks now from different politicians saying that if we change this particular line, let's say in a provision, it's prone to abuse. Good thing we have an expert here, somebody now is part of the CFCR of the DILG, the Center for Federalism and Constitutional Reform. I think they're going to rebrand that very soon kasi bago na ang directive ng DILG. They're just focusing on the small amendments, the tinatawag nilang surgical amendments. Let us welcome to our program si Secretary Gary Olivar, ang pinakapogi sa CFCR. Sir.
Ayun, nabola mo ako. Kasi hindi mo pinapayaran dito kaya kung nabola mo na lang ako, Aaron. Well, kailangan pakilala mo. You have to introduce me first to this beautiful lady beside you.
Of course, Sec Gary, please meet Miss Celine Veloso, one of our regulars sa Istoryang futBOLERO.
Good evening po and welcome to the program.
Thank you for having me on board.
Sec, ayan si Celine yung ating ating ang ginipig natin. Siya yung ating typical Filipino na walang kaalam-alam sa chacha or sometimes indifferent or apathetic about what's happening when in the halls of Congress when they are debating the merits of whether or not we should change the charter.
Pasensya ka na, Celine, pag minsan masyadong honest itong kaibigan nating si Ron. Sabi din kanina na she's not totally opposed and she knows of good things in the Constitution, so may alam naman siya.
Oo naman. Pero hindi yung tipo na she
lahat. Kakampi ko dito, hindi si Ron, Oo, yan.
Thank you.
Sa Gary, nakakatawa kasi meron tayong mga kaibigan nag-aaway ngayon sa social media. Nagbabatuhan sila ngayong dalawa. Nakakatawa kasi syempre kaibigan natin si Orion, who's always here on Istoryang futBOLERO. At nagdedebate sila ni Attorney Ahmed na kaibigan rin natin at si Attorney Trixie. Pero more on Attorney Ahmed versus si Orion. So pinapagawain nila ngayon yung mga proposed changes sa Constitution. And syempre I think ang naging challenge lang for sa side nila Attorney Ahmed and Attorney Trixie is they haven't really received the actual final draft proposed by the IATF, DILG, and even I'm sure there's a version from Congress, Sec Gary, di ba? HB 2 ba yun? House Bill number 2 ba? Tama ba?
Yeah, well, kung ano naman ang naging version ng Congress, Ron, which came out siguro mga 1 year ago,
Okay.
mga late last year. I think it's been overtaken by events as far as the lower house is concerned kasi nakafocus sila ngayon sa kanilang house, RBH, resolution of both houses, number 2, which focuses only on amending the economic provisions. No?
Right.
Kung meron mang draft na nagtutulak na mas malaking reforma sa Constitution, in fact, a thorough overhaul of the 1987 Constitution, palagi ko yun na lang draft na ginawa namin from DILG-IUTF na ngayon po ay nakatengka sa cabinet, hinihintay yung pirma ni Presidente. I really don't know where that process is gonna go in terms of overhauling the Constitution. So right now, ang focus natin is yung mga surgical amendments na nabanggit mo kanina, and in particular, yung economic provision which will open up to more foreign investment. Kasi mukhang yun talaga ang tinututukan ng Congress and the Senate. And sa palagi ko, yun lang siguro may pag-asang pumasa, and gets to the plebiscite, yung magpe-plebisito sa ating mga kababayan together with the May elections next year. Yun sigurado ako mangyayari. So discussing anything else at this point really is just academic. Because sa practical matter, sa palagi ko, yun lang ang papasa, Yun lang ang abot sa punto ng plebiscito.
Para sa kalaman ng mga ating mga viewers at para kay Celine, si Sec Gary ay tawang-tawa ako kasi lumabas siya sa hearing sa Congress. Nandun sa House of Representatives si Sec Gary. And he was one of the resource speakers of the Committee on Constitutional Amendments head by Congressman Garbin. Tama ba yung Sec? Garbin, no? Si Congressman Garbin. Siya na yung pumalit kay Rufus Rodriguez. At ayun, so merong mga iba-ibang personalities ang nandoon. Nagkataon rin nandoon din ang Makabayan Block in full force.
Yeah. So hindi ko Makabayan Block medyo they don't know how to act kasi nakita nila malakas ng ang buwelo ng reform na ito, Nobody can deny na kailangan natin ng more foreign investment.
Right.
Lalo na ngayon na nakalugmok tayo dahil sa pandemya, we will probably, our economy will probably shrink by almost 10% this year, Tapos ang dahil pang umuwi ng OFW, may kalating milyon na. Tapos pinapaalis pa ni Presidente yung mga taga Maynila, pinapauwi sa probinsya para mabawasan ng risk ng pandemic sa Maynila. Pagdating mo naman sa probinsya, walang trabaho naghihintay dyan. Isa-isa kang babalik sa Maynila. So, both short-term and long-term, I think it's clear na kailangan talaga natin magbukas sa foreign investments. Pero ito Makabayan, palibhasa nakakulong sa isang ideology that goes back to the 19th century. Okay, na I think
ayun, medyo nag-choppy si Sec Gary.
Ayun, Sec. Ko, nabos tayo ng Makabayan. May Makabayan siguro dyan sa humahanap na ating broadcast. Okay.
Sinasaputay ka, Sec. Paano ba to? Sec, yung natin, yung syempre maraming bringing up ang Makabayan Block against charter change as they want to call it, Chacha. And everybody knows na we're heading or we're probably going through hard times now because of the pandemic. Maraming nawalan ng trabaho. At kung hindi nyo alam, Sec Gary, actually si Celine is an OFW herself. She's joining us all the way from Singapore.
Oh, are you in Singapore now, Celine?
No. I'm not.
Sorry. Tama, si Celine used to be sorry, Sec Gary, mali. Kasi I was thinking of Sarah Bader who's also a guest here, and she's based in Singapore. Celine used to be from Singapore, now back here in the Philippines.
Okay. What did you used to do in Singapore, Celine, when you were there?
Advertising sales po.
Okay.
Yun. So, ano yan, may alam yan sa PR. Pag
go ahead, Ron.
Kung may mga kilala kang politician, Sec, na kailangan PR, si Celine nalapitan nyo, magaling sa PR yan.
Nasa Maynila ka na ngayon, Celine? Are you back home? Are you back here in Manila?
Yes. I am
Advertising sales. So which agency work yan or corporate work?
agency. So now
So
I'm
which
in
agency? I see. Which agency were you with and are with today?
it's called Cross Pacific Global.
Cross Pacific Global. Okay. And you're also with them while you're back in Manila. You're still with them.
Yep, I am here with them.
Okay.
Di ba, Sec? Ayos,
Right.
meron tayo. Maganda yung ating network, Sec Gary. Kung mga kailangan mo ng mga magaling sa advertising, mga consultants, yan. Celine. Ayun. Celine,
No.
binigyan ko na kita.
Meron po,
Celine, you leave your card with Ron, and I may be calling upon you one of these days.
Oh, ha?
Old man.
Alright.
sure.
Of
Okay,
course.
Sec, I'm gonna read some of the messages here now before we continue our discussion on charter change and what went on at the HOR when they started talking and deliberating the proposed amendments on the economic provisions of the Constitution. Sabi ni Robert Yano, bakit mga beautiful girls ang mga government supporters? At bakit karamihan ng mga anti-government ugly girls?
That is a very relevant question, no? But, I'm glad somebody asked that. Yan ang unang naisip ko nung nakita ko si Celine eh. So, bakit gano'n, di ba?
Oh, tapos meron pa tayong Sec, nakilala mo na ba si Miss Jam Magno, yung nagigest rin dito sa Istoryang futBOLERO? Medyo sumikat, bagong vlogger na sumisikat na pro-administration at maganda rin, taga-Butuan. Yun.
Pasensya ka na Ron, ha? I know it's fun to talk about other beautiful ladies, but while we still have a beautiful lady in our company tonight, I'm happy to focus on her. As should do, di ba? No?
Patay. Sabi ni Lawrence Chu, why not still include the tandem vote ng President and Vice President sa discussions? Oo nga, Sec, di ba natin nasingit yan sa ating mga kakilala sa Kongreso, yung tandem vote?
Well, alam mo, as you know, Ron, there were other reforms na tinutulak natin. It's a short list of reforms. No? Siguro mga 4 or 5 reforms which also involve political issues and electoral issues. And one of them was tandem voting, no? President and Vice President. No? That is on the agenda from the point of view of the ILG. Pero sa Kongreso, sa Committee on Constitutional Amendments, isa lang ang pinupuntiryan nila. And that is as per the instructions of Speaker Veloso. They are focusing only on the economic provisions. No? And kung magkaroon tayo ng pagkakataon, kapag nagbukas ng discussion at pwede natin idagdagan ng issues na pag-uusapan ng mga congressmen, ng mga senador, at pwedeng iharap sa plebisito, why not? No? We will take advantage if the opportunity comes up. But right now, it's early days in the process, so ang pinupuntiryan ng mga congressmen ay yun lang economic provisions. Mabuti na rin lang because that was my assignment over the last 4 years that I've been doing this. I've been part of this constitutional reform movement.
Sec, total, napag-usapan na rin natin yung economic provisions. Actually, yung big question ko, I'm just gonna get right to it. Ang proposal natin ay idagdag lang yung phrase na unless otherwise provided by law. Right, Sec Gary? Which will open up, open things up for the legislators to come up with legislation to amend certain provisions of the Constitution if they decide to do so. So ngayon, Sec, ang sabi naman kasi ng ibang kaibigan natin sa yung best friend sir, si Congressman Lagman, ay tsaka surprisingly a few pro-administration lawmakers are saying that can be subject to abuse because now we are left to the lawmakers to make changes and ang problema, Sec, hindi ganun kataas yata yung trust rating ng Kongreso at merong impression na baka abusuhin yung provision na yon kasi hindi clear cut. So many different it can go wrong altogether if ever if we get the wrong people coming up with all these with the legislation needed to amend the Constitution or that provision.
I'll answer that in 2 ways. Sinabi ni firstly, Ang sinabi ni Congressman Lagman is napakahina ng positive signal na sinesend natin kung lalagyan lang natin ng provision unless otherwise provided by law. Siguro gusto niya palabasin, why even bother, no? If the wiggle is so easy. So, sabi ko, alam mo kung kasi kaibigan ko yan for 50 years na. Alam mo kung sabi ko, I agree, it's a weak signal. Mas maganda nga, if you want a strong signal, na tanggalin na ng husto ang mga economic restrictions niya sa Constitution. And that in fact is what we did in the draft we prepared, no? Out of DBI, LG, IATF, no? Sabi ko kay Kong Sketzel, Kong, sumama ka dito sa effort niyo na buhayin itong medyo, I think he was reluctant. He did not rise to debate. The other way to answer it is to say na alam mo, anything Congress does is always subject to possible abuse. Hindi lang naman yung chacha, even the laws that they pass. Diba? Kaya nga kapag pumapalpak ang Kongreso sa mga issue na gano'n, humababa ang kanilang trust rating, no? And that's been their problem, no? So, pero at the same time, having said that, na may mga kahinaan ng institution at may mga kahinaan ng ating mga congressmen, wala naman tayong alternative, Ika nga democracy is the worst of all systems except for everything else.
Right.
So, this is the system we're stuck with. We have elected lawmakers, okay? We cannot just stop changing things and stop with reforms just because wala tayong tiwala sa mga lawmakers natin. Hindi naman natin pwedeng gawin yun. Mas dapat natin gawin, okay, palitan yung mga masasamang lawmakers with good lawmakers. That's really the only way out of it. Diba? So, I don't think that it is a good thing for us to give up on changing for the better just because ang pamunuan natin ay hindi natin mapagkakatiwalaan. That is no way to answer a problem. No? Palitan ang pamunuan and then continue with the process of change.
May term dyan sa Gary, negatron. Yun yung mga negative kaagad. Proposal pa lang, negative na kaagad sinasabi. Wala namang di ba? Wala naman silang ibang...
Magagaling naman na congressman na mga sumusuporta sa tinutulak natin, no? Si Speaker Velasco is put the support behind it. Si Committee Chairman Garbin, si Joey Salceda, who is a very prolific economic analyst in Congress from Albay. Stella Kimbo, who is a magna cum laude sa UP, yan, teacher ng economics sa UP. Yung mga brads ko, siyempre, no? Hindi ko kalilitan yung aking mga brads sa UP, si Kong Mike Defensor, at saka si Kong Kit Belmonte, although nasa kabila sila ng panig natin on some issues. And of course, Kong Stella is the wife of former Congressman Milo Kimbo, na brad din namin. So, yes. I would like to think that there are enough good lawmakers there na on this particular issue, kasama siyempre yung mga magagaling na senador natin ngayon who have indicated support for this economic provisions reform, pwede natin ipasa to at idahan sa plebisito by next year. I think we have a good chance of doing that. And it's enough to keep me going.
Celine, meron ka bang mga comments on what Sec Gary just said?
Yeah. Actually, I have a question kasi as a voter, di ba, you did mention na merong mga good and meron din not good na lawmakers. So,
yes.
ano po ba yung mga qualities that we should look for in a lawmaker? Siguro, what can you tell us voters na things that we should look out for in a person that will make us think about, okay, is this a good candidate or not?
I think you will get a consensus if you ask people that the first quality to look for is personal integrity. Integrity. I don't care kung ilan ang degree mo or kung wala ka pinag-aralan, high school graduate ka, whether mayaman ka or mahirap, kung ano man ang relihiyon mo, pati in gender preference mo, no, it's nothing to do with it. The first thing, the most important thing is personal integrity. That means you can trust this fellow, okay, at the very least, no, to do what the job requires of him, and that is to make good laws, okay, on behalf of the people he represents in an honest manner. Yun lang naman hinihingi natin na qualification. And everything else, kung anong position niya, kung anong talino niya, okay, kung gwapo siya o hindi, nasa sa botante na yun. But without integrity, wala mangyayari sa sa namumuno na yan.
So
Good
paano
question.
nalaman po yun? Meron po bang parang record or somewhere? May database ba?
Dito ngayon papasok yung obviously voters also have to have integrity themselves para makapamili ng mga mamumuno na may integrity. Pero kung botante ka, lalapitan ka, alungan ka ng what? 5,000, 10,000 pesos para sa boto mo, kung sa senador, o 500, 1,000 pesos pag congressman. Okay, at binoto mo yung ganun tao dahil ikaw mismo walang integrity at tatanggapin mo yung pera niya, then you deserve what you get. Kaya nga pa nakakadinig ko ng mga taong umaangal tungkol sa quality ng ating pamunuan. Naisip ko lang, nobody force you to vote for these guys, okay? You reap what you sow, okay? Panindigan mo, gumawa ka ng kalokohan, ito ngayon ay binunga nito, so we just have to live with it. And hopefully the next time the election comes around, you will do better naman.
Sec Gary, may may follow-up question ako dyan kay Celine. Paano kung wala kang other options, ang parating na sa balota ay yung mga kilalang tao, yung mga kilalang pamilya na parating nananalo, na alam naman nating paminsan, corrupt. Anong gagawin mo? Paano yan, Sec? Hindi ka na
yan ang lead-in question ni Ron para banggitin ko yung ating yung isang reforma tinutulak natin, which is to implement yung anti-dynasty provision. Nasa 1987 Constitution na yan for the last 34, 35 years. Hindi pa gumagawa ng enabling law para maisakatuparan yung pagbabawal sa dynasties na nakalagay sa ating current Constitution. So we are pushing for that as one of our electoral reforms. Nang sa ganon, okay, mabuksan ang mga kampanya. Okay, we will widen the talent pool to include people na walang pera, walang pangalan, pero nakita naman natin may personal integrity, dapat din silang mamuno sa atin. Kaya lang sa ngayon, kung hawak ng mga dynasties ang proseso dahil sila may pera, sila mapuder, madalas sila pa nananakot sa botante, ay nako, hindi wala talaga mangyayari sa ating search for integrity sa ating leadership.
Right. May mga dito, Sec, kasi may maraming mga miyembro ng Correct Movement ang nanonood rin sa atin ngayon. Actually, nag-vlog yata si Orion Dumdum ganina, and right after watching him, they came to our program kasi knowing that you are here, and they wanted to make sure that we also talk about their 3-point agenda, which is similar to what the DILG is doing.
Okay.
Sec, wala tayo, pinapakaiman natin yung kulang tayo sa panahon para i-implement lahat ito or i-push sa ating mga kongresista or sa Senado yung ating 3-point proposal, which includes political reforms, yung devolution na tinatawag na redistributing yung resources and of course powers of the central government to the regions. And now we are only focusing on the economic reforms that's needed to be done so that the Constitution will be, kumbaga, akma sa ating panahon. So, Sec, paano yan, Sec? Anong masasabi mo sa mga taga-Correct Movement na medyo naiinip at at the same time talagang fans ng parliamentary system? Gusto nilang parang maging UK o Singapore ang Pilipinas.
Alam mo, I don't want to sound like your grandparents, no? Siguro observation ko lang. Okay. Iha, matuto kayo magpasensya, okay? Take your time. I mean, take things will not move faster just because you want them to. Ako, pasalamat ako na bago bumaba si Presidente Duterte, from whom we expected much more, no? When he started his term, but for whatever reasons, okay, I'm still thankful na at the end of his term, pagbaba niya next year, at least maipasa natin most likely economic provisions. Mga political and electoral provisions, mas mahirap yan because a lot of them, like the anti-dynasty provision or the anti-balimbing provision or strengthening local governments, no, which by itself threatens the power of the congressmen, no. Kung ganong klase mga pagbabago, mas maigting, mas matindi ang opposition na magagaling mula sa mga entrenched interests, mula sa existing political leadership class to this kind of reforms. At higit sa lahat, kung babaguhin mo mismo yung sistema natin from presidential to parliamentary or from unitary to federal, naku, Diyos ko, matagal na bakbakan yan. So, we cannot be impatient. Pasalamat tayo, 2022, may pasa natin economic provisions. Let's look to the next presidency for another cycle of continuing to fight for constitutional reforms. I keep telling people, lalo na yung mga bata, this will not take one presidency or maybe even two or maybe even just one generation. So please be prepared to dig in for a long fight. Dito masusubukan kung kayo po ay talagang may paninindigan at lakas ng loob at talagang lumitindig sa prinsipyo when it comes to all of this.
Yung silver lining dyan, Sec, no, yung kasi dati nung tinutulak natin yung mga provision, yung mga ating mga tinatawag na surgical amendments sa Constitution, we had positive feedback from Congress. Pero ang ating pinaka-stumbling block or challenge talaga ever since is the Senate. Kasi yung Senate medyo talagang negative. Hindi sila ganun ka enthusiastic not until recently when si Senate President Soto mentioned that they are open to supporting economic changes in the economic provisions of the Constitution. So what do you think, Sec? Sa tingin mo, because the Senate will medyo magiging mas cooperative na sila, and I think si Presidente rin yata spoke to them, to the Senate President, kasi one of his concerns is the party list. Gusto niyang i-reform rin yung party list or remove it altogether. Do you think ma-fast track, mas malaki na yung chances natin na maisusulong natin tong changes sa economic provisions and even reform or amendments to the party list do?
Well, yung as I said earlier, yung economic reforms, maliwanag ang pangailangan dahil nga sa kailangan bumangon ulit ang ating ekonomiya mula sa pandemya. I think that's pretty clear except for the leftists. No? Hindi will never understand that. Okay? May mga blinders yung mga yan. Ngayon, ano pa mga ibang nasa agenda ng Pangulo? And of course, we have to refer to him all the time. Kasi presidential system, very centralized ang power. And of course, our president has 91% approval ratings. No? Hindi mo pwedeng baliwalain kung iniisip niya. No? You have to make guesses. And I think yung pagtanggal ng party list system, if it's also on his agenda, it is because he is also interested in weakening yung communist armed struggle dito sa atin. So, and one way to do that, obviously, tanggalin yung mga kinatawan ng mga komunistang yan sa ng Kongreso to the party list system. Kasi sa pamamagitan ng party list system, okay, pumipasok ang pera, okay, mula sa Kongreso at mula sa mga legal na sources, okay, ipinapasa nila ngayon sa NPA, sa CPP, pinagbibili ng armas na pinababaril sa ating mga kasundaluan at kapulisan. Ngayon, ang kanila access pati to intelligence as congressmen, intelligence information, government resources, pati yun ay inaabuso at sinasamantala at ibinibigay, ipinailalim sa kapangyarihan ng armed communist left. So I think very sound ang reasons na tanggalin ni Presidente ng party list. Now, as you know, or Ron, ang ating stand sa party list goes the opposite way. No? Gusto nga natin palakihin Kasi naniniwala tayo na we want to be more like a parliamentary system where the political parties are based more on principles than on personalities. Unfortunately, the reality of it is that the party list system now is subject to abuse. And if the president wants to do away with the party list system in order to take away the opportunity for abuses, in order to preserve the republic and peace and order, he has a right to do that. And I would support him on that. What does it do to our agenda? Siyempre, kailangan isang tabi muna natin agenda natin. But then that's the way politics has to unfold in our country, in a democracy that is led by strong leaders like our president now. Ganun talaga yun. Tanggapin natin yun ang mga realities. Now, most likely, economic reforms either tanggalin ng party system or delisted ang mga kaliwa, hindi sila tatapos 2022. Then next year, depende kung sympathetic pa ang bagong presidente sa ginagawa natin, kaya we will be able to make more progress sa may ibang reforms natin. That is already the best I can for.
Ano, Celine, ikaw, sa tingin mo, what do you think? What do you think of all these proposals so far?
Well,
Or
for
meron ka
me,
bang question or follow-up questions tinanong mo kanina?
I just want to comment on what Sec Gary mentioned about his opinions, and I really feel like it's very grounded and very realistic. Kasi I think a lot of the people who are fighting or like who are very opposed, they're very up there. So masyado silang ambitious na hindi nila nakikita yung reality of the situation. So, there's a lot of very outspoken people out there, and they don't really see all the facets, diba? They only see what's bad. Pero hindi rin grounded yung mga opinions nila. So that's why I really appreciate the inputs and the insights from Sec Gary, kasi he really brings us back to earth and shows us what is realistic and what is doable right now. And yun, so I wanted to particularly say na yun nga, yung parang being patient is a very important factor for the people who really want change. Kasi diba, yun nga, we can't really control everything and there's a system in place. So we really I agree with you that those who want change also have to be patient.
Tinama ka ba nun, Celine? Medyo,
Hindi naman ako tinamaan, pero I mean, I thought that was such a very good advice for the people. Oo.
Okay, go ahead. Bigyan ko lang ng framework, Celine, no? Kasi ayoko din naman sabihin ng mga tao na tinatawaran ko, minamaliit ko yung kahalagahan ng pagiging ambisyoso para sa bayan natin, no? We should not lose that, okay? That belongs in the realm of our vision. What do we want our country to be like? Let's say 50 years from now. O sabihin natin, pag sa katapusan ng buhay natin, no? And I'm speaking as a hypothetical 20-year-old kasi after 50 years, katapusan ng buhay ng 20 years old na yan, wala na ako, no? So, in 50 years, what do we want our country to look like? No? Now, federalists and parliamentarists, such as myself, would like to see a federal system, okay, that is run along parliamentary, maybe unicameral lines. Yun ang ideal. Okay, yun ang ideal. Now, from vision, you drop down the next step to mission. Okay, anong mission natin? No? And we have to do, what are the things we want to achieve, let's say, under each administration over the next 3 or 4 administrations. Ilatag na natin ang mission na yan. What is achievable under this administration, 1.5 years from stepping down? Ang mission natin is simply to get the economic provisions passed, no? This is in terms of our original agenda. So yun ang second step down. Third step down natin is ang strategy natin on a year-to-year basis. Okay, what do we want to do and how do we do it? Okay, and then on tactics natin on a monthly or daily basis, that is how we build our organization and that is how we conduct our operations. I think kung ganun ang framework natin, systematic at methodical, hindi tayo mawawala na pasensya because everything falls into place. Okay, ganyan ang gamitin natin frame para maging handa tayo at magkaroon tayo ng kakayahan na lumaban para sa pangmatakaran.
Well, the vision is really very beautiful, but my question is everybody on board with that vision? Because, like you said, it's going to take a long time. So I think if we're going to follow your framework, I think all the administrations should have the same vision.
Well, I'm sure that Orion has that vision. So at least happy ko na Orion is board on that. Pero ano yung mga pag-usapan natin din yung yung vision natin, halimbawa gusto natin magkaroon ng unicameral parliamentary system. but you have to pass the legislation to our existing setup which has a Senate. So aasahan natin that Senate will vote to abolish themselves. But yun na talagang vision. Ewan ko lang kung makakabot tayo ng mission to do that. It's even realistic, no? It's a great vision, but sometimes, no, if the vision is simply not, we simply cannot do it, maybe you have to adjust the vision as well, no? Maybe you have to settle for a bicameral parliamentary, no? So, yung mga ganong klase, even the vision may have to adjust to the realities of what we have to do. No? Ganun lang yun eh.
Yeah, we have people who are adamant that we should abolish the Senate daw, Sec Gary.
I know that. I'm probably one of them. No, this is the Senate we now have is not the Senate of hindi pa kayo pinapanganak no nung 60s and 50s na magagalang na tao na magagaling talaga the likes of Diokno, Tanyada, these are Recto, these are people I miss, no? But we don't have that quality now. And maybe we will never be able to go back to those years kasi iba na yung mundo yan eh. Okay, maybe I just live in the past, no? Right? In the future,
we're coming from the TikTok generation. Iba yung TikTok generation, Sec Gary.
Right.
Hindi nag-produce ng ma-joke.
Maybe the TikTok generation, we have to be able to live with a certain degree of looseness of integrity, looseness of morality. Maybe it just cannot be helped. So I don't know. Maybe I don't know how to preserve a vision that calls for something better than that. So, it's not something that's up to me. So I can give advice, but I won't be responsible for implementing.
Well, my observation lang sa Gary na karamihan sa ating mga politicians kasi are used to pageantry. I think that's one of the traits that they have mastered when they entered politics. It's not about substance anymore. It's about who looks like he's doing something that is significant or substantial. Ganun parati.
If that is enough to get someone's vote, why should I want to do more than that?
Right.
Bumabalik na naman tayo sa kung anong pumapayag ng botante at kung anong hinihingi ng ating kultura, no? If things are what they are, then as I said, you get the kind of leaders that you deserve, that you elect.
Just speaking of leaders in our, the lawmakers who are in the spotlight these days because of this constitutional reform, Sec Gary, yun na nga yung best friend mo, si Congressman Lagman. Sinabi ko na sa inyo na nag-Viber tayo, medyo na-notice ko sa kanya, medyo nilo-lawyer speak ka niya. Nung nagkaroon siya ng questions on, halatang-halata, Sec Gary, leading questions yung mga tanong niya eh. Meron siyang talaga, may rebuttal kaagad siya eh. Meron talaga siyang point na gustong i-drive at. And sometimes I feel, Sec, na baka naman karamihan sa ating mga mambabatas, or hindi naman karamihan, we have some who are influential. Wala si Sec Gary. Sec, are you there? Okay.
Okay. I'm back. Okay. Please repeat.
No, yung na-notice ko kasi Sec Gary, nagkaroon kayo exchange ng yung best friend, si Congressman Lagman, na medyo parang naglo-lawyer speak siya, parang puro leading questions yung tinatanong niya, na to which meron siyang mga kasagutan dun sa mga tanong niya at ini-expect na ganito ang sasabihin, kaya meron na siyang pang-rebuttal. And ang feeling ko lang, Sec, paminsan itong ating mga mambabatas ay they're not out there kasi I think in a parliamentary system, Sec Gary, we're trying to come, we're the outcome that we are hoping for is the best solution, best idea. That's why you have all these debates. But sometimes it's more tactical than ever eh. Ang karamihan sa ating mga kongresista, they have an agenda, they want to push that agenda forward. That's why they will all use all these tactics or that they've grown accustomed to or developed through the years as lawmakers to shoot down these proposals. So ano masasabi mo dyan, Sec? And I also want to add yung kay Marcoleta, but before that, yung kay kay Edson Lagman.
I have 2 points to make to that. One is, one is that, Kong Edsel is a very good lawyer, no? Marami aktivista na pinagtunggol yun ng araw, no?
Hmm.
So, I think he was just being the best lawyer that he could be sa aming pag-uusap during the hearing, no?
Right.
And I would not hold that against him. Secondly, I suspect that even if you point to the best run parliament in the world, you will see the same kind of personal styles, no? Personal style of reasoning, of argument. Okay, especially from the lawyers, no? Because this is what lawyers are paid to do, no? So again, yung ganitong klase pakikitungo o na ipinamamalas ng ating mga legislators sa isa't isa at sa kanilang mga resource persons, I'm not surprised by that. I would expect that in any other kind of legislative forum, and I do not hold it against them. No, I don't think that's a question of integrity. It's a question of style. Now, what they do with their power, now whether they use it for the public good as they see fit, no, according to their own rights, no? Or whether they use it for their own good or for other things aside from the public good that they should know about, no? That they can be expected to know about because they have fully formed consciences and we elected them to leadership, no? If they do that, okay, then that becomes an issue of integrity. That's what I worry about, not about style or debating approach, etc. I don't hold that against that.
I found it funny kasi both Congressman Marcoleta, of course, we admired during the ABS-CBN sessions, but in this particular instance, he seems like a very parang strong, parang medyo siya, yung protector of the 87 Constitution, yung dating niya, para siyang defender of the 1987 Constitution. And in one point that I found very amusing, that came out of Congressman Lagman and Congressman Marcoleta, is their focus on asking all these different investors daw. Isa-isahin daw dapat tanungin and parang gumawa ng parang very substantial study na that will ask these people na talaga bang ayaw nyo pumunta dito sa Pilipinas dahil merong restrictions may 60-40. Gusto nila ng ganong klaseng which sinabi na nga Yusek, even si Congressman Garbin sinabi na itong mga chamber of from different countries already said that that's one of the main reasons why they're having a hard time investing here in the Philippines because of the restrictions. But hindi pa rin ayaw pa rin pakinggan ni Congressman Lagman, ni Congressman Marcoleta na hindi naintindihan mo na yung concept of yung konting statistical analysis of coming from a set of a set of people saying the same thing that could represent a larger population. Hindi naman pwedeng buong population ang tanungin mo ng mga investors na bakit sila ayaw mag-invest sa Pilipinas. Kung baga, obvious na very impossible or very hard to do because they're just trying to stop it from happening. Kaya nila pinipresent yung argument na yan. What's your take on that, Sec Gary?
Well, you know what? Congressman Marcoleta is a deputy speaker of the House. No? So I am sure he has good reasons for saying what he said. No, at the same time, I'm glad that in the process of give and take during the committee hearing, nagkaroon ng magandang palitan ng opinion between him and on the other side naman was Chairman Garbin himself, joined also by Deputy Chairman Defensor, no? So yung ganong klase pagpapalitan ng opinion, dyan sa palagay ko nabubuhay consensus na magkakaroon tayo ng that will push our reforms forward, no? People, you will never get 100% agreement, but it is through this give and take na nagkakaliwanagan ng issues, and if your argument is better or other reasons favor you, then ultimately, sooner or later, masusunod din ang gusto mo. Okay? But you have to go through this process of give and take between each other. Ganun nga nangyari between the Deputy Speaker and committee leadership.
Pero Sec, is it feasible to ask all these investors now who actually thought about investing in the Philippines, whether or not that is the main reason why they did not invest here? Posible ba yun, Sec? Kaya ba natin gawin yan?
Well, of course, anything is possible, no? And if you have the time and the resources and the inclination to do it, anybody who wants to do that, of course, is always welcome to do it. You know? I
But
wouldn't
if,
be one of them. But if you want to do it, then go ahead.
pero Sec, pag nagkaroon na ng study ang World Bank, IMF, yun ang mga kino-quote ng ating mga proponents for this proposal for the amendments sa Constitution. Sinasabi nila, the ones who are supporting economic revisions or amendments, sinasabi nila, kino-quote na nila World Bank, IMF, and all these different organizations conducting that study. Why can't they believe them? Bakit parang hindi pa rin sila maniwala? Kailangan daw tanungin isa-isa yung mga investors na gustong mag-invest dito sa Pilipinas. So yun lang. Ano ba?
I cannot speak for them, Ron, no, but I'm sure as congressmen, they would be very able to explain themselves to you if you were to ask the question from them.
Okay, sir. Celine, you have anything to add to that? Or
I'm curious about your question. It's like, what do you think they're protecting by not wanting change?
Okay, I don't. That now borders on speculation, and not only that speculation about the motives of other people, to which I'm not privy. So I will do them the courtesy of not speculating in public about that.
galing mo talaga, Sec. Ibang klase. Veterano. Ganyan talaga. Sec, Gary, ito, yung gusto kong pag-usapan rin yung Ibon Foundation, yung kailang 5 points na
Okay.
sinasabi. How do you counter all those 5 things that the Ibon Foundation? I can't. I won't be able to remember all of them, but I remember them saying that we should focus more. The government should focus more on the stimulus than actually cha-cha as a solution to the current economic problem that we're going to be facing. We're facing right now, and we will face in the future.
I took note of their 5 points. No, buti na lang. The first point they made was that they think fiscal stimulus is better than is a better approach to recovering from the pandemic. But I will agree to the extent that we're talking about the short term, no? Yung pamimigay ng handouts, lalo na yung paglalagay ng fiscal resources sa mga urgent programs katulad ng contact tracing, testing, isolation, etc. Pagbibili ng bakuna, which we'll be doing the next few months. But over the long term, ang fiscal stimulus, tandaan natin, nanggagaling yon sa buwis na binabayad ng tao. At yung buwis na binabayad ng tao, okay, walang may hangganan din yon. No? Ang hangganan doon, kapag wala ng trabaho ang tao, para pagkakitaan, ibabayad niya ng buwis. And that is why, yung pagbabalik ng trabaho sa taong yan to investment is the only long-term solution. Okay? So yun ang sagot sa Ibon. Sa point na yun. Number 2, sinabi na foreign investment has not improved the economy. Again, that is why my very first slide, I cited statistical tests from all over the world which showed a considerable positive effect of foreign investment on economic growth. Both a direct effect, kasi nga may pumapasok na pera, and an indirect effect because openness to foreign investment tells the world that you are ready to do business. Okay? Kasi tinitignan ng mundo ay yung openness na economy mo. Pag sarado economy mo, wala interest sa'yo siyempre ang rest of the world. So you have to show them that you are open. Number 3, sinabi ng Ibon, okay, we believe in foreign contributions of foreign investment but it should be regulated. Hindi naman natin tinatawaran yung pangangailangan na i-regulate ang foreign investment or any kind of investment, whether it is foreign or local. Trabaho pa ng gobyerno yon, no? But regulating does not mean closing the door. Kapag saradong pinto mo, sino mo i-regulate mo? Wala namang pumasok. Open the door and then regulate them. Okay? Yun din lang naman ang that is common sense. I'm sorry, medyo hindi naintindihan ng Ibon yan. Number 4, foreign investment, foreign investment restrictions are not enough. I don't know what that means. Okay, I think what they mean is that foreign investment restrictions are not are not enough to guys to push the economy. Again, if you believe that foreign investment is good for the economy, several restrictions on foreign investment are bad for the economy. Ano lang naman yan eh, opposite reasoning lang yon. And number five, other countries are becoming protectionist at medyo nagtataas ng mga trade barriers, investment barriers. That was certainly true for a while under Trump when it comes to when it comes to trade. And to some extent, pati investment, if the investment comes from China. Mga politically driven policy directions yan. But in general, being protectionist is not good in the long term. No, open markets, open trade, open investment. That was the reason the world grew so fast. Lumaki ang middle class in the decades after the Second World War. That was the source of prosperity after the Second World War. Diyan bumangot ang mga bansang bumagsak at natalo katulad ng Germany at Japan. No? Nakabangon sila dahil nagbukas ang mundo sa kanilang economy. Diyan nagkaroon ng mga tiger economies ng Asia, diyan nagkaroon yung mga dragon economies, okay, diyan lumakas ang Amerika, diyan nag-recover ang Europe mula sa World War. No? So, at the same time, yung mga bansa na hindi sumunod sa ganong philosophy, no, yung mga komunista, okay, katulad ng Russia and China, napag-iwanan sila. They were left behind. It was only 1991 nung nagbago ng direksyon ang China, early 90s, nagbago ng direksyon ang Russia at China. Lalo-lalo na sa China, dahil just magbabago na yon, napakalaki na naging improvement ng dalawang bansang yon. So, the facts of history, again, show that Ibon is wrong. So, wala talaga akong nakitang argumentong maganda na binigay nila. Kaya naman tinanong ko at the end, ano ba, saan nanggagaling ang data ninyo? Because the data does not support what you're saying, and it is not even consistent with the data we are citing. Habang nasagot ko ka na ron, kasi hindi ko nabanggit during the hearing yan.
Oh, sayang nga Sek, dapat nasabi niyo yan para
okay lang.
Para masupalpal naman ng konti yung ibon kasi daldal sila na daldal, medyo nagsasite sila ng mga numbers na hindi naman natin alam kung saan galing. Sabi daw nila galing daw sa central bank.
You know what? I don't trust their numbers in the sense I don't trust the reasoning that comes out of the numbers that they use. Wala talaga akong tiwala sa reasoning nila. You want me to give an example that economists will understand who are listening to this show?
Yeah.
Want me to give you an example? Okay. The lady, head pa naman ng research sa Ibon, was using a term called foreign investment inflow stocks.
Okay.
The stock of foreign investment that's coming in, which is wrong. Okay, it is a flow. Okay, it is a flow of money coming in, and not a stock of money that is already there. So to use those terms together is already wrong economics. Sa simpleng language pa lang, nagkakamali na yung babae. Kaya ako kinakabahan sa datos na binibigay niya. No? And where to study economics for that matter. Medyo kinabahan ako dyan.
Sana, Sec, medyo, sa bagay, hindi naman kayo nag-interpolate kasi, Sec Gary, you're also a resource person. But the congressman should have talagang dapat siya ng konti. Inisa-isa yung mga points nila at hinimay at burned it to the ground. Kasi una-una Sec, yung while Ibon was talking about their ang tawag nito, yung kanilang their points against the amendments to the Constitution, and lumabas pa sila sa TV, nagpa-interview na kesyo daw it's a ruse daw itong na to. Ito mga loko-loko talaga sa Gary, di ba? Duplicitous talaga itong mga kaliwa eh. Meron silang face na parang very legitimate na they're following the process, and then all of a sudden they'll come out and do something that is propagandist or something that totally doesn't speak the truth. just so they can get public sympathy or opinion, and that's negative about the matter. 'Di ba? Pinagalitan siya ni sino yung congressman Sec na pinagalitan yung
Congressman
ibon.
Sharon Garin, oo.
Oh, 'di ba?
Medyo nagtampo siya ron. Well, alam mo, Ron, hindi lang ibon, no? Some people who are not leftists necessarily, they are concerned na kapag binuksan yung process of amending the Constitution, may mga sisingit na mga bago at additional changes dyan, nasa palagay nila hindi dapat pumasok. Okay? Now, I have two answers to that. Number one, when you open up a process, ganun talaga mangyayari. Okay, so kailangan lang maging handa ka para barahin yung mga changes na ayaw mong papasukin sa proseso. Okay? Nobody's stopping you from doing that. If somebody wants to come in and make the president Duterte president for the next 2,500 years, di pumasok at banggain mo and reason out against it. You are not prevented from doing that. And secondly, yung ganong reasoning, wag tayo mag-charter change dahil kung ano mga changes na ipapasok, that is no different from the reasoning, okay, na wag na tayo magbalit ng batas o magpasa ng batas. Total, aabusuin naman ng mga congressmen. Okay? That is the same kind of reasoning, no? It is a reasoning that says that we are powerless, we are victims, we do not have the opportunity to influence the world around us, to make things better for ourselves, even in a democracy, no? That kind of thinking is actually rooted in a basic distrust of democracy, and it is really a basic distrust of our people, of their capacity to make judgments that are good for them. Okay? So yun ang pinag-uugatan nun. No? It is not anything to be proud of, yung ganong klase pag-isip.
Right, cool. Sec, I got the chance to talk to Kong Pulong last night, and it's illuminating to hear. Kasi he has a background in, he really studied the local government code, and he told me that almost more than half of the local government code is pretty much what's the term? Medyo hindi na applicable. That law daw talaga requires major overhaul. Sa tingin mo, Sec, are you familiar with the local government code, or even sabi rin na the same thing he can say about the Constitution daw. Kaya he's also in favor of medyo baguhin, but it has to be changed the right way.
Well, as you may know, Ron, that is why our group inside the ILG, which is a Center for Federal and Constitutional Reform, medyo binago na ang pangalan natin. I think what the group now calls itself is CLCR, no? And Ron, do you remember? I think it means Center for Local and Constitutional Reform or something like that. In other words, ang inahabol natin is hindi lamang mapag-amyenda sa ating Constitution, pero pati ng pag-amyenda sa ating local government code, no? We're not even just focusing on changing the Constitution. If it can be done by just amending the local government code, no, which hopefully will be a less difficult process, yun po ang gagawin natin. Okay.
Celine, you might want to read this, if you could, from Gabriel Lim.
I'll read it.
Yeah.
Energy sector is one area where constitutional reforms can very much help us. Unless we do constitutional reforms, we will have a hard time improving our energy sector, and we will always have high electricity rates and intermittent blackouts. And this will remain as another turn-off for business investors. With constitutional reforms, we will have more players and investors in the generation sectors as well as in green and renewable energy. This can be done when we will remove economic hindi ko na siya ma-continue.
Economic restrictions.
Ayun.
Nabanggit rin nila yan, yung ating mga congressmen ay medyo against, these proposed amendments to the Constitution. Sinasabi nila, baka naman ang problema natin is mataas ang ating electricity rates, mataas ang ating utilities, baka naman dahil sa yung ease of doing business is yet to, kumbaga, it hasn't reached that level na desirable to our investors. Secretary, di ba medyo these things are interrelated? If you change the constitution and make it better, that will also result to better, of course, electricity rates. Does it follow kung i-open up natin yung foreign direct investments?
Well, to the extent that restrictions on foreign investments are a reason for the problems in our energy sector, obviously, pag tinanggal natin o at least binawasan natin ng ganong klase mga restrictions, makikinabang din ang ating energy sector to the extent that that is the case. Okay. Having said that, I suspect there are other issues that are at least as important in terms of improving our energy sector. Number one, yung kung mataas ang electricity rates natin, that is because our electricity rates are not subsidized by government. Okay? Yung mga ibang bansa dyan, halos ang karamihan dyan sa Asia, na mas mababa ang kanilang power rates na sinisingil sa customer. Okay? Kung tatanggalin mo ang subsidy na binibigay ng gobyerno at pinapatong mo lang sa customer, okay, ang kanilang power rates will be the same as ours or even higher. I remember, I think Indonesia was cited as one example. Okay. So, and there are a couple of others. So, tandaan natin yan. Kung mataas ang power rates natin, that only means the rest of the taxpayers are paying for it in the form of subsidies to the power sector. Number two, of course, ang green problem natin is with is with carbon dirty fuels like coal, especially coal, as well as to some extent oil, no? Ang problema dyan kasi is in terms of our base load capacity, coal and oil are still the most efficient. They are still the most efficient to maintain base load capacity. So if we choose to gain if we choose to be more green sa ating power sources, the trade-off is less efficient, okay, maybe less reliable, okay, energy mix kung ang mas malaking parte nun is not coal or not oil, no? Right now, renewable energy is still more expensive than oil or coal, although it has been coming down for two reasons. Number one, naglagay tayo ng feed-in tariffs, okay, subsidy na naman mula sa gobyerno para i-promote ang renewable energy katulad ng wind, solar, biomass at tawag dyan, geothermal, no? And number two, over time na rin dahil sa mga technology advances, bumababa din ang real cost of renewable energy to the point that a couple of countries are even considering to run themselves purely on renewable energy. I think one of them is Sweden, I'm not sure. Either Sweden or Finland, one of the Scandinavian countries. Number 3 point I want to make is the most efficient form of renewable energy is nuclear. Okay, it's renewable, it is clean, okay, and it is base load, and it's reliable. I am still in favor of nuclear power. I think the Department of Energy leadership now is also in favor of that. Maglagay tayo ng isang planta sa Mindanao, another one for the Mindanao and Mindanao grid, another one in Luzon, and then the Visayas, pwede sila magkaroon ng mga but through interlinkages, they can be fed by conventional plants in 1 or 2 or 3 major islands. Pero yung nuclear plant, malaking bagay yun. I think we need it. It should have been done nung panahon ni Marcos, kaya lang nasira ng politika, ng dilaw, nung pumasok si Cory. Now it's the time to revive the nuclear option. So those are my views on the energy sector. No? At totally nothing to do with constitutional reform.
So, Sec, are you saying that usually the energy sector in most countries, it's most of the time a monopoly or a duopoly? Hindi siya talaga yung tipong maraming suppliers na papasok sa inyo and then they'll be able to give you more competitive prices?
I cannot speak to, I have not done that kind of a study to give me any basis for answering your question. But I can say, ito pwede ko sabihin, yung liberalization ng power sector has not yet been completed. Okay, that was supposed to be the purpose for EPIRA. Mainly because hindi pa naro-roll out ang isang tunay na wholesale spot market. Okay? For power. In turn, that rollout has been delayed kasi hindi pa kompleto ang physical grid kasi hindi pa nakakabit ang Mindanao sa national grid. So you
Okay.
can create power from all over the country kung hindi kasama ang Mindanao sa trading territory mo. Okay, so yung mga nag-o-object sa EPIRA, I think they should remember that the problem is not EPIRA but the fact na hindi pa tapos ang pag-rollout na EPIRA. Okay, so yun naman ang sagot ko sa issue na yan.
Celine, you have questions for Sec Gary?
No. I just, I'm happy to learn from him tonight. So,
Diba? Kaya nga, gets ka rin, Celine, kasi you're supposed to be our guinea pig, diba? You have somebody like Sec Gary talking about constitutional reform to someone who hasn't heard anything about it or have very minimal, knowledge of the subject matter. Yeah. So is it helping, Celine? Is it a big help to have somebody like Sec Gary?
definitely good to hear from Sec Gary and, to grace us with his presence here. It's so refreshing to have you here.
Sec Gary, refreshing ka.
Nahawa na si Celine sa pagka-bolero mo, Ron, ha? You're a bad influence on her. Okay? Even for an advertising salesman, okay? He's laying it on thick and I see the influence. Your influence.
I'm just speaking from from the truth.
I know that.
From the
Pulling your leg in.
said.
Sanay na sila sa akin.
Sec, sabi ni Terence Valdez, please invite Sec Olivar to your episode. So Sec, baka mapapadalas yung pag-imbita sa'yo dito sa Istoryang futBOLERO.
As long as Celine is there every time I'm on, I'm fine.
Problema kay Sec, medyo high profile to eh. Nakakaya naman kung ibitahin na lang natin basta sa isang ating pipichoging vlog. May tumatawag. Hang on. Ano ba yan? Wait.
No, but seriously, for me, this has been very educational, and from someone who doesn't really follow the news in detail, it's good for me to know and be updated with what's happening in our country right now.
I'm glad to hear that. When did you come back from Singapore, Celine?
Oh, well, it's been more than a year na.
Well, matagal na rin yan, ha? How long were you there for?
5 years.
Wow, tagal.
Yeah.
Are you happy to be back dito sa atin?
Oh, yeah, of course. There's no place like home.
Is your family glad to be back too?
Of course. Of course.
Glad to hear that.
Sec, it got me thinking, talking about renewable energy, yung green sector na tinatawag. We are almost near the equator, diba? So yung rays of the sun or the energy coming from the sun is highly abundant in our country. Is it feasible to have all our, kumbaga, lahat ng mga residential roofs ng ating mga bahay dito sa Pilipinas naka solar panel? At will that help the grid?
I think the technology is quickly coming to a point where it will become cost efficient compared to energy sources, other energy sources, including the grid. Ideally, magkaroon ka nga ng situation where there is enough solar energy out there so that they become net sellers of power to the grid. In other words, they get their power during the day, okay, then they store it for at night, and then their net consumption is less than what they're able to absorb and store. So they're able to sell the difference. No, may netting out process yun, they sell it to the grid, which in turn benefits some additional sources of power. No, yun ang magandang sitwasyon. No? Lalo na sa atin, kasi tayo archipelagic country tayo na. So a lot of our generation will have to be island specific. So if as many islands as we can put under solar energy become self-sufficient or nearly self-sufficient, mababawasan ang demands ng grid, no? Which will help bring down costs. Okay? So ang cost nga ng solar technology bumababa ng bumababa. I have to give them credit, no? They've been bringing it down, no? I don't think anybody expected that kind of progress 2 or 3 years ago, no? Malakas ang debate about whether or not we should give them subsidy support, no? I was on the other side. I was against giving them subsidy support. Pero now, nakita ko, no, bumaba ang kanilang cost of producing energy, and that's very encouraging. It's a good development.
Right. Okay ba yun, Celine? Are you willing to have your solar panels? Are you thinking about that, Celine, on your end?
Actually, I'm all for renewable energy. Kaya lang, I think the problem with that, I don't know if it's still true now, is of course you still need to build the right infrastructure to make it mainstream. It's not as simple as just like putting panels, diba?
Yeah.
Zach, I know there's a big upside to talagang fully embrace solar technology, no, given our relative location to near the equator. Pero Zach, sabi nga ninyo, if we're gonna add that, let me just connect that with our main topic for tonight, because the main proposal of the IATF and even the HB2 that was passed by some of our congressmen is to change the wording on our constitution, specifically the economic provisions, where it indicates unless otherwise provided by law. Now, like sinabi natin kanina, Sec, it can be subject for abuse at the same time for lobbying. Hindi kaya ng yung mga big players natin, yung mga congressmen, pwedeng i-shoot down yung na yan, mga panukala na yan?
Yes, that's correct.
So how do we prevent that from happening? Because that's a really
elect good congressmen and watch what they're doing.
How about alam mo, Sec, medyo nakakatawa kasi may mga blatant talaga yung talagang alam mo na yung pero tuloy-tuloy pa rin sila kahit nakakahiya na yung pinanggagawa nila. I know, Sec, you can't be very, you have to be neutral when it comes to discussions like this. Kasi like namin napapag-usapan like ABS-CBN and how bigla na lang some of our lawmakers nag-peak yung interest nila in saving that franchise. Parang, why? Kasi malapit na mag-election ba? Kaya ganun? But they don't care. They really, parang some of them are really pushing for it, even though it's not relevant. We have moved on. Most people have moved on from that debacle. And I think wala namang kawalan talaga malaki na wala nang ABS-CBN kung tutusin. But that's just to show, it goes to show lang, Sec, that easily our politicians can be swayed by big business, by the influence of money, and of course the getting re-elected. So
ang suspetsa ko sa ABS-CBN, Ron, the cause of the problem for the administration was not the ABS-CBN per se. It was the Lopez family. If the Lopez family is out of the picture, and as you know, umalis na hindi lamang sa ABS-CBN, na pati yung buong Lopez family businesses. Umalis yung aking dating boss at kaibigan, si Gabby Lopez, no? And there seems to be a general downsizing that's also going on, or a business refocusing within the rest of the Lopez group, no? If ABS-CBN comes back to ask for a new franchise, intact ng kanyang assets, nandyan pa yung kanyang mga licenses at frequencies, operational, pero hindi na Lopez ang controlling shareholder, somebody else, or maybe it's widely held by the public, I suspect that will be a lot less problematic para sa gobyerno. Nabigyan ng bagong prangkisa. Hindi renewal ng franchise, cancel ng franchise. Kundi bibigyan ng panibagong prangkisa. Kasi sayang din naman yung yung mga assets, kasama na dyan yung goodwill, reputation, yung brand equity ng ABS-CBN. Sayang din yan, no?
Right.
We should give that up.
So, lang talaga, Sec, mas magandang solusyon is change of ownership.
Ganun na nga mangyayari. They may make it a requirement. Who knows?
Yeah.
Pwede kayo magpraktisa basta wala lang owner with a family name that's spelled Lopez. Who knows? No?
So, sa
But-
tingin niyo rin, Zach, yung yung paglagay nung yung ano na yun, yung additional wording sa ating economic provisions, which will obviously touch upon the issue of foreign ownership sa ating mga media companies. Will that be
That is a very good speculation. I had not thought of that. As usual, ang utak mo, Mr. Poblete, okay? By changing the constitution to allow foreign investment in mass media,
right?
which is now zero ang allowed,
Mhm.
then you're opening the door for a possible return of ABS-CBN under a majority or even an exclusively foreign ownership, which would be great kasi may dalang bagong capital, bagong technology. Siyempre, may international contacts ang bagong ownership na yon for programming and all of those other things, no? So, yeah, that would be a great idea.
Ano, Celine, what do you think?
And,
Na?
you know, for me, um, you know, the more the better for me.
Tama naman si Celine. The principle is the more the better. Competition, more open markets, more players. That's what we want. Sa ating,
Yes.
yeah. No more monopolies, no more oligarchs. Yun ang gusto natin. No?
Zach, I want you to address the concern by some who, and syempre, I'm sure the left will ultimately try to suggest that if we have more foreign investment or foreign companies, that will be the start of the demise of our MSMEs, our small businesses, because they won't be able to compete with all these foreign investors or foreign companies. Is there any truth to that? Has there been studies done in different countries who've had an influx of foreign investment which killed the local businesses?
Well, I'll answer that in two ways. No? Number one, noong naupo si Presidente, okay, at tinulak ng business community ang pagbubukas no, ng economy by amending the foreign restrictions, hindi lang ang mga foreign chambers of commerce ang nagtulak nito. Pati ang mga local business groups nagtulak nito. Okay, people who would be expected to be concerned about competition, they were among those who were pushing for lifting the restrictions. And I suspect it's for this reason, which is my second point. Yung mga pupunta dito na foreign investors, they will not be pipitsugin lamang. Hindi naman po mga sari-sari store ang pupunta dito para magtayo ng negosyo. Hindi naman pupunta magpapayag na magtayo ng negosyo.
Target sari-sari store, Sec.
Maglagay ng pera sa ibang bayan na hindi naman sarili mong bayan, hindi mo sariling batas. Okay, wala ka alam sa bayan na yon. Who will be willing to do that except the biggest players? Yung may malalaking mga balance sheet, yung mga people with money to spend, people with business presence, so they can actually have a chance of making money sa ibang bayan na yon. Yan, kapag papasok yung mga big players na yon, siyempre, magkakaroon yan sila ng pangangailangan for suppliers, subcontractors, contractors, resellers, okay? Mga magbibigay sa kanila ng distribution, logistics chain, mga mag-hire ng kanilang mga workers, mga advertising agencies. This will all be local businesses, local companies. So in other words, yung pagpasok na ganitong malaking foreign player creates business opportunities for the local businessmen. And I suspect that's why the local chambers also supported moves to lift the restrictions. It is a win-win for everybody. Okay. Pagpasok ang mga foreign players na malalaki, may kakompetensya yung mga malalaking local companies na medyo ang estilo ay sinisikil, iniipit ang kanilang mga supplier dahil sila nasa border, dahil meron silang monopoly. No? Pero kapag challenge sila ng malaki ding, kumbaga si King Kong ay pumasok para i-challenge si Godzilla or vice versa, ang nakikinabang yung mga maliliit na hayop sa gubat. Kasi nag-aaway dalawang higante. Yun ang prinsipyo dyan. Going back sa sinabi ni Celine kanina, no? That is another way. Competition, okay, opens up the market. When big players come in, okay, they make monopolies and oligarchs no longer possible.
Ayun. Celine,
Yeah,
approve.
I agree. Approved. Let them win, 'di ba? Para umangat na ang Pilipinas, umangat na ang mga Pilipino, 'di ba?
Tama.
Kailangan natin 'yan ngayon.
Sec Gary, first of all, we want to thank you for joining us tonight. No, talagang very ganda ng mga paliwanag mo about the amendments that the government is trying to push. Alam ko Sec Gary, ang mindset ng karamihan ng mga ating mga kababayan ay hindi kasi ganun ka sensationalized yung chacha sa kanila, parang negative lang, hindi siya as sexy as somebody getting killed or somebody or artista na may sinabing masama sa Twitter, hindi ganun ka interesting para sa kanila. Ang iba naman, they feel when you talk about something as academic as the Constitution, medyo boring. So yan ang problema natin kasi yung attention span pa ng ating karamihan ng ating mga kabataan, or not even just the kabataan, but most of our population, something like this is such a enormous challenge for the communications arm of the government to impart and to convince people that they should play an active role in making this happen. When the truth is, whatever happens in this endeavor of the government in trying to change the Constitution, it will affect us in a very profound way. Diba? Parang it's like talking about going to the dentist when you're to somebody who finds it boring waiting at the dentist's office to get his teeth fixed. Pero it's very important that it gets done. Unfortunately, this is something that we need to do, Sec Gary, diba? Right now, as soon as possible.
Well, I see that 11 o'clock is coming up, so let's take that as your cue for a closing statement, no?
Yes.
I'll remind people why is chacha important on the personal level, lalo na sa ating mga kabataan. Okay, kapag graduate ka na sa eskwela mo, okay, siyempre ang number one na wala ka pang pamilya, gusto mo nang medyo mag-independent sa magulang mo, gusto mo meron kang konting pocket money, kapag simula ka ng career. Ang number one question mo siyempre, where can I get a job? And what kind of a job can I get? Okay. Kaya, kung may foreign investment dito, that can make a difference between, you being able to work here, keep your job here, dahil yung foreign investor na nagpunta dito para magtayo ng kumpanya na papasukan mo, or having to go abroad, which is what 10 million Filipinos have had to do over the last 30 years, at maghanap ng trabaho sa mga bansa na kinaluluklukan ng mga foreign investor na yan. So instead of us going to them to work abroad, we make them come here to our country, set up their companies here, para dito naman tayo magtrabaho. Hindi na tayo magkaroon ng broken families, makakapag-ipon tayo na maayos, kung yung ating girlfriend na papangasawa ay hindi na mapapalayo sa atin, hindi na magkaroon ng mga broken marriages, kaliwat kanan, girlfriend, boyfriend sa mag-asawa. All of that can be avoided just by the simple provision of opening up our economy to foreign investment. Yan po ang personal na mangyayari sa atin kapag natuloy yung ganitong klase constitutional reform. So, it's important in a personal way as well as for the country. So, I hope yung mga nakikinig dito sa atin ngayon, mananonood, sana po ay maglakas loob at sumama dito sa ating paninindigan ng baguhin ng saligang batas, lalo na para sa pagbabago ng pagbubukas sa ating ekonomiya this year and in the next few years after that para palakasin at patatagin ang ating pamamahala, ang ating mga eleksyon, ang pamamaraan ng ating pagpili at pagsubaybay sa ating mga namumuno sa pamahalaan. So, yun ang aking closing statement. Salamat, Ron. Pleasure meeting you, Celine.
Nice meeting you too, Sir Gary. Thank you.
Thank you.
And more pleasant tonight, Ron, kasi kasama mo si Celine. I don't have to look at your face for an hour and a half. Nakakagaan ng aking puso at kalooban yung presence ni Celine dito. Thank you, Celine, for joining us.
Strategic yan, Sec Gary. Strategic yung pagka-imbita kay Celine dito sa programa.
Very good decision. Very good decision.
Sec Gary, salamat. Thank you for your time. I know you're a busy man, and thank you for sharing your thoughts and your ideas on.
That's what I am. So, thank you. Good night. Stay safe.
Good night, Sec.
Thank you, Celine. Salamat, Ron. Okay. Stay safe. More power.
All right. Bye. Ayun, Celine. So, that's Secretary Gary Olivar, dating secretary ni GMA yan. And I think he's the economic spokesperson of GMA when he was still working for government. So talagang malalim ang pagkakaintindi doon sa ekonomiya. When you talk about economics, go to Sec Gary Olivar. And he just recently appeared in Congress as one of the resource speakers for constitutional reform. So Sen, you wanna promote your thing? What's been happening to you this year, 2021?
Yes.
What's happening?
Yeah, so a lot of interesting things happening on my end. So I do meditation sessions every weekend. So those who are interested to connect with their self and connect with their inner spirit, I highly recommend joining Reiki Wellness Manila. It is on Facebook, and we have a lot of meditation activities there. So every Sunday we have free meditation classes and free events as well. There is an upcoming talk this weekend about the year of the ox. So if you want to know how you can prepare yourself for this year, 2021, please attend our free talk that's coming this Saturday.
Nice. This coming Saturday, free talk on the year of the ox.
And then sa Sunday naman is yung meditation.
Meditation, so even the beginners, the first time, people are curious who want to try it out, they can just join this Sunday?
Yes, they can just join. It's all online. Just go to Reiki Wellness Manila.
Cool.
Yes.
Yeah, ako, year of the ox ako, Celine. So it's my year.
Pareho tayo. Year of the ox din ako.
Oh, yeah? Oh, diba? Nice.
Nice. Okay. Same pala tayo. Same year.
Moon sign. Diba? Moon sign ba tawag dun?
Hindi ko alam.
Sign. Yan. Year of the ox.
I just want to share my thoughts about the night.
Yes, of course. Your big takeaway, Celine.
Yes, my takeaway. First of all, I just want to tell. I mean, there are I see people who are really so spirited when it comes to the topic tonight. Shout out to Michael C. Apolonio, who's been so active. So hello, I hear you. I just want to tell everyone that, despite all the disappointing things happening to our country, let's not lose hope. Diba? I think change is good. We can't expect a drastic change, and I learned a lot from Secretary Gary tonight when he mentioned na, we have to be patient. If we want to have real change to happen in our country, we have to be very patient because things can't drastically change overnight, unfortunately, and that's the reality of the situation. But let's not lose hope. Let's continue to push on the changes that we want for the improvement of our country. Let's continue to fight and air our voice. And I think one of the biggest things that I learned tonight is, if you yourself want to be part of the change, is choose the right people to vote for in government. It really boils down to that. So use your voice wisely, use your power wisely, and choose the right person wisely.
All right.
But it's there. We just have to trust that the change will happen, and let's keep positive about it.
True. Tama. I agree. 100%, Celine. And if I may qualify rin about the word patience, patient doesn't mean being patient doesn't mean that you have to be lax about it, or
Mhm.
you don't pay attention to it at all. It
Mhm.
mean part one of the things that you need to do with being patient is you have to be active as well. You have to participate in our democracy. It's just that you can't expect results right away, but you go have to go at it. You have to be passionate and at the same time determined to make changes for it to happen. But
Mhm.
at the same time, you have to ground yourself and have the patience to really see it through, diba? That's
Yeah.
why kahit paano I have to give credit uh, to um, what the leftists are doing. Protracted sa kanila eh. Even if the young people change, the faces change in their respective front organizations, they still do the same things, and it's been 50 years and nothing has happened so far in their endeavor. If only we could channel the same type of perseverance to those people who are actively trying to change government in a positive way, then
Mhm.
I think we'll do so much better. And we still
Mhm.
have an opportunity here. We still have the first reformist president at the helm. So take advantage and make sure to get your voice out there to be heard. And
Mhm.
the way to do that to affect change is to try to make your voice loud enough that it can be heard by your respective representatives in Congress and in the.
And also vote, do vote, 'di ba? Yung sa mga marami akong kakilala, at least in my circle of friends who don't even vote. So please register and vote.
Yeah, actually, you can register right now. You can go online and then fill out all the forms that you need, and go to your respective Comelec offices set in your district or area. I
Hmm.
just want to thank sila Lawrence Chua, Mike Apollonio, si Ronan Dayot, who says, I like the phrase from Lee Kuan Yew, politics has to do with your life. Things go wrong, you have no future. All right, cool, man. Thank you for sending that in. And si Lawrence Chua, of course, sent that message as well. Glenn Scott Frio, salamat Pop Bean sa iyong informative na gabi. Angelo Generosa, true. Chico Pace, thanks Miss Celine. Mike Apolonio, si K Mitsu, go Celine.
Yeah.
Nice.
Hi, Ru.
Ito ang tunay na usapang bayan ay hindi kung ano-anong chismis sa kanto at issues ng buhay ng ibang tao. Pinoy, bago na tayo para sa ikakaunlad ng bansa natin.
Yes,
Um,
English.
'Di ba? And si Rosalie says Austria. Hola, Ron, watching here. KSA, Banateros Forever. First time to hear you live. Great. Thank you, Rosalie, for watching. This is from our YouTube channel, that message. Si Jovan Oramaliv, si Dominic Solpico, Chico Pays, Paul Ian, sabi niya, share this content, guys. Yeah, paki-share na lang po sa inyong mga friends sa Correct Movement, yung mga members ng Correct Movement who are watching right now. And the ones who are watching us are OFWs, you our modern day heroes. Don't forget that. You're keeping our economy afloat by sending all those dollars in. Don't forget, Celine knows for a fact, and she's part of that community before. So we would like to thank the OFWs. You are God sent. Although some of them are coming back because they may have lost their jobs. So we are here also to support you. The government will definitely be there for you, because that's the least we can do after all these years you've served the country, working abroad. So OFWs, maraming salamat sa inyong mga pagkinig sa aming programa. I know this is a way for you to be closer to home, and we're glad we were able to do it for you. To get a feel of what's happening here in the Philippines. Si Zednaref Dindin, Miko Del Mindo, and si Luis V. Hi, Celine, with a heart pa. Naks.
Yeah, that's my sister. Hi,
Oh,
Lois.
Hi, Luis. Thank you for watching. Cool. Daisy Solis, but reality they bring the money out rather than bringing it in. Paul Ian, and everybody who listened and watched our program, and also the groups that have shared this streaming. And we'd like to thank everybody at on our YouTube channel for watching our program, which includes AZ Patuinan. Yon, sa replay na lang daw siya manonood, antok na daw siya. Yung mga team OFWs na medyo, late na sa kanila ngayon, ay good night. Maraming salamat. Ingat po tayo. Don't forget to wear your mask, ha? Make sure to wash your hands. Keep social physical distancing 1 meter apart or 3 meters. Nangyari sa akin.
Yata.
Na-confuse ako dun 3 meters apart. Tapos make sure to not share fake news. Alamin ang totoong informasyon all the time, ha? Follow the guidelines of the DOH. And that's it for the show. Thank you so much, guys. Celine, thank you so much for joining me this Thursday. It's nice to see you again.
Yes, thank
all
you.
right. And good night, everyone. Bye. See ya.